If your audible call is Damian Lillard, don't we expect a Hail Mary? What's this running business?
I don't know, but as long as you get something. They got a great run.
A long-range shot?
You know what it was? They got a 30-yard run off of it, and he shoots from 30 feet.
Yeah, if you got a play called Damian Lillard, something great happened.
Something about to happen.
All right.
We'll give it to him. We'll give it to him.
Well, Dame tweeted, he said, they know I'm watching 20-yard gains.
There we go.
He approved.
Yeah. Okay.
Boom.
That's not bad. You're an Oakland boy.
Yeah.
You got your former Oakland Raiders.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He raps, welcome to the jump. I am Rachel Nichols. I might cry because I am literally alongside, not over screens, not from their homes, alongside NBA champ Richard Jefferson, 2008 Finals MVP, Paul Pierce. Malika Andrews is going to join us shortly from New York for our Nets preview segment. Also coming up, we will share the details of the NBA's investigation into the Clippers' recruitment of Kawhi Leonard in 2019. Stick around for that. But first, we begin with the NBA's version of Panda Watch. Yes, it's been about 3 weeks since Woj first reported James Harden wishes to be traded out of Houston. And yesterday, Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Shelburne reported the Rockets are increasingly expanding trade discussions beyond Harden's preferred destinations of Brooklyn and Philly. According to sources, several playoff caliber teams are becoming more comfortable, including the high-level players in the packages they are presenting in return for Harden. Now, by the way, Harden had a great showing last night's preseason game. 20 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 27 minutes of action. Richard, nobody doesn't think James Harden can't play, right? How quickly do you expect them to move him, or how much longer would you say he's going to be a Rocket, if I phrase it that way?
Well, I think it's a good sign that they're opening it up. Like, I think when you limit yourself to 2 or 3 teams and you don't like it, and it's like, look, James Harden has, I believe, 2 more years left on his contract. So you're not even just getting him for one.
Right.
Like, you have an opportunity, and we saw it with Kawhi Leonard. You saw it with Paul George. You see these guys have the opportunity to really kind of convince you that this is a great place to stay. But it's not just like Milwaukee or Brooklyn Nets or Philly. It's like there's other teams that I think they might have an opportunity to convince them. And I think 2 years is better than 1 year to convince a player.
When you talk about trying to add James Harden, you have to think about a few things. You know, now that you're opening it up to not only contenders, but how does he fit? How does he fit into our culture? Or if he's not going to a team that has championship aspirations or just a team with playoff aspirations, how does he fit with our young guys? You know, you have to ask yourself these questions because the things you've heard out of Houston, the partying, doesn't really fit our culture. Yeah, James Harden's a great player, but we're talking about building something here for the long run. Is that really fit with what we're trying to do moving forward? And that's what you have to ask yourself. So I believe he's going to be in Houston for the duration.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For the whole season?
Yes.
Past the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I don't know if I go that far, but I will say this. I don't know if this is going to get resolved quickly because as much as I think the Rockets we're seeing from Woj and Ramona's reporting increasingly are trying to get a deal done, it really depends on what the marketplace demands. It doesn't depend on how much you want to sell. And look, if he doesn't want to go to another team, who's to say that he won't act on that other team exactly how he's been acting in Houston that has made them feel like, oh man, maybe we do have to deal them. Remember, Tim McMahon's reporting at the beginning of all this was that the Rockets were, quote, willing to get uncomfortable. Well, James Harden has certainly made them uncomfortable. And all of a sudden, it sounds like they are making more phone calls. Well, if I'm on the other end of one of those phone calls, I want to know that James isn't going to be like that to such a degree that you, Houston, feel like you need to trade him.
I'm trying to tell you.
I agree.
Old dog, new tricks.
I agree, but if we learned anything from the Kawhi situation...
But Kawhi never did the thing. Kawhi was not in I'm going to...
Well, okay.
He was not in 2 cities that may contain nighttime establishments.
Okay,
I don't know where James was. He was not in two different cities when he was supposed to be in training.
But there was rumors that Kawhi, not that he quit, but that he wanted out of San Antonio and that his injury and how they handled. There was all this stuff. And so San Antonio was historically famous for taking care of their players and literally extending the careers of Manu and Tony and Tim. So to have Kawhi say it at the time that he did it, you're like, that's not on brand. There's something else here. And Toronto still took that on. And so I'm just saying that people have taken on, I don't want to say controversial, but guys that they weren't sure what they were going to get from or how they were going to handle being in that environment.
Listen, Kawhi is a champion. He was a Finals MVP.
Agreed.
And he comes from a San Antonio Spurs culture.
But he was trying to leave.
So, that's fine. But who doesn't want to deal with a Kawhi?
Yeah.
You know, he understands the urgency of practice and being on time, doing what's right. He's not a guy you're going to see in the streets. He does his work and he goes home. Like, you can live with that.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
And so you have to ask yourself these questions. If James Harden comes aboard, can we live with that? There's only like 2 or 3 coaches that I can say can deal with him in the league. Doc, Popovich, and I'll think about the third.
Here's the other complicating factor in all of this. The Rockets are looking at what other teams have gotten in trade for guys that they think aren't, frankly, as good as James Harden. What Milwaukee just gave up for Drew Holiday, for example. So I've heard that. Well, Milwaukee just got 3 picks, and blah, 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 what Paul George took on the trade market, that kind of thing. But here's the difference. The difference is that the Clippers specifically needed Paul George to get Kawhi. That the Bucks specifically needed Drew Holiday to help keep Giannis. I don't see a team right now, at the start of the season, that specifically needs James Harden and therefore will overpay or pay at least to that level, even though it's a lesser player that has commanded that level before. Now, what might change is when we get to the trade deadline, because both of these conferences are pretty stacked this year, and you have a lot of teams that think that they can make it, and James might be a piece that a team that maybe loses its own superstar due to injury or something else happens where they suddenly are as desperate as the Clippers were or the Bucks were. I don't know if anyone's that desperate right now.
Can he sign an extension and then be traded? Like, could they extend him?
Yeah, they just offered him.
I know but I'm saying
2 years, $103 million. No, and by the way, it's not in his interest to sign an extension unless he is really sure of where he wants to go and that they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
Because then he's just locked into wherever they trade him for longer.
5 years.
So the extension scenario is more that he would get traded to a team that he approves and then signs an extension with that team.
That would actually increase the value of what you're
trading.
Yes.
But that's where his, quote, preferred destinations comes in.
Yeah.
Because if you're listening to this reporting that Houston is expanding beyond his, quote, preferred destinations, you're probably then only getting him for those 2 years, at least at the start. And again, yes, the Raptors certainly proved that it was worth the gamble with Kawhi. They only had 1 year with Kawhi,
it's
and they made it count.
It's a year and a half.
Well,
that's why I say he's not going anywhere this year.
Okay. I can see it. I like, this is one of those ones where, look, James has proven that if he's unhappy, he will look unhappy.
And make the other people on the team know
how
he feels. Let's talk about the Clippers. Let's switch gears here. The NBA investigating allegations made against LA Clippers team and consultant Jerry West involving the free agency recruitment of Kawhi Leonard in 2019. Johnny Wilkes, a man who claims to be best friends with Kawhi's uncle Dennis Robertson,
Not anymore.
filed a lawsuit in LA County Superior Court against West and the Clippers, alleging that the team consultant owes him $2.5 million in an oral agreement made for helping the Clippers sign Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers issued the following statement, quote, "The lawsuit filed by Johnny Wilkes is replete with inaccuracies and the allegations are baseless. The Clippers fully cooperating with the NBA in its investigation, which is standard when these types of allegations are made. They are providing the NBA with evidence that the allegations are false." And Kawhi Leonard himself had this to say after last night's game.
How well do you know Johnny Wilkes, and did he play any role in your recruitment to this team, your decision to join this team in 2019?
Not at all. That has nothing to do with me. You know, I'm from LA, and you know, I grew up here my whole life, and out here, you know, people try to, you know, find any way to get some money. So it probably won't be the last. I know a lot of people out here.
Richard, this is not college recruiting, right? I mean, we don't usually see runners in the NBA, which is basically what this guy is alleging he was.
It's weird because you want to say, okay, was this introduction done during the Toronto, when he was in Toronto, before free agency? That would be the only things like, hey, I'm going to connect you, I'm going to do all of these things. But if it wasn't done during that like time period, there's nothing illegal here. This is professional sports. This is why it's done this way. No one can.
First of all,
this is an LA guy. Tell him.
If you don't got nothing signed from Jerry West, like, look, hey, if I get you Kawhi 2.5, then this doesn't have any legs to me. It sounds like an AAU deal.
Yeah.
You know, like if you want my son or my nephew to come play with you, then it costs this money. That goes on in AAU. I know firsthand.
Producer Danny literally just said in Richard's IFB, Richard, how much did you get?
I got 0. I wasn't that good. See, like Paul was like #1 player coming out as a sophomore and as a junior, and he was top 10 everywhere.
You know what I got coming? I got a suit jacket. Just because that was the dress uniform with a clip-on tie.
That's it.
So that's what I got.
Yeah, Arizona, I didn't get anything.
Here's what I would say from an outsider's. I obviously was not on the phone with Jerry West or any of these people. I do not know what happened. I will look forward to the results of the investigation. But from an outsider's perspective, if they knew they could, quote, get Kawhi for $2.5 million,
they would have paid double
would not have given up all of those draft picks for Paul George.
Yeah.
Right? Think about the price that they paid for Kawhi Leonard. We know the price they paid for Kawhi Leonard. It was a trade deal to the Oklahoma City Thunder that gave them their best young player and picks for the rest of eternity.
Man.
If all that they were going to get was, this guy will get them for you, man, that would have been getting off late.
And then they have the voicemail as like evidence of Jerry West, and it's like, I listened to it. There's nothing there. It's saying, hey, thank you. Like, we appreciate it. And, he might have said a comment about the Lakers, which was true at the time, right? I'm not going to repeat, the show that he was saying that the Lakers were, which was true. But there was nothing in that voicemail. So it's like, here's evidence of like him calling me and saying thank you. That's not evidence of $2.5 million. And so, maybe there's more out there.
Let me ask you, so let's just say there's some legs to this and, he's right on what he's saying. Okay, the NBA investigates. Okay, so what happens now? The trade is null and void?
No. What they do is
they fine you.
Remember Joe Smith?
You get a huge fine.
Remember Joe Smith? Where he had that kind of under the table contract and fire his agent. They could penalize him, take away draft picks, take away all that stuff. So that's the penalty. Now that was hard for Minnesota because Minnesota with KG and all them, they weren't a free agent destination, so they really had to do it via draft picks. The Clippers, if they were to lose a couple of draft picks, and it would probably be after the draft picks that they were that the OKC got. So it really put them back like 5 or 6 years with draft picks, which could be detrimental.
It is funny to see this phone call paraded around because it doesn't actually prove the allegations involved, but also
baseless.
It's sort of holding up like, oh, look what Jerry West said about the Lakers. Well, Jerry West split from the Lakers is very well documented and well publicized.
And he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying at the time.
That is something. That is a matter of opinion. But I will just say that there's no scandal in the fact that Jerry West doesn't have the nicest thing to say about the Lakers these days. That is, again, a split that's been well documented. All right, coming up, a plurality